Patriots fans started to come to grips with life after Tom Brady and were perhaps looking ahead to the 2021 NFL Draft to find themselves the next face of the franchise, the next quarterback to lead the way through the next decade plus. And, certainly got the opportunity to do so because the Patriots were able to sit right there, smack dab at that 15th overall pick in round one. Didn't have to move up, didn't have to give up any additional draft pick capital, didn't have to trade anybody to do so, and they got Mac Jones to fall right into their lap. Nice work if you can get it. Sometimes it seems like the best organizations make their own breaks. By sometimes, frankly, not doing anything and just waiting for others to make their decisions. Now, certainly I've said my piece about Bill Belichick, the general manager, versus Bill Belichick, the head coach, but really hard to criticize him for taking Mac Jones with that 15th pick. And not even necessarily talk about what Mac Jones did or didn't do as a rookie, just from the simple fact of the Patriots needed a young quarterback to build around, period. And they had to come out of that 2021 draft with one. And they did. And I think they found the right quarterback for them. This is also a team that changed its approach a little bit in the offseason. They spent quite a bit more in free agency than you're used to a Belichick team doing. But even with all of that, even though you're a Patriots fan, you know you've got the greatest head coach of all time, and you're assuming that defense is probably going to be pretty good under him, you're just really looking at the 2021 season hoping for one thing, that Mac Jones is going to show you some type of promise, some type of flash that shows that he could be the long-term answer at the quarterback position. Because you were so spoiled for almost 2 decades with Tom Brady manning the helm, you're just hoping that you get somebody that could give you even a glimmer of hope into what could be. And instead of getting that, you ended up getting a 10-7 season with a playoff appearance where they almost won the AFC East with a rookie quarterback starting every game. Like if you were looking at coaching performances where you said Bill Belichick maybe could have won Coach of the Year, this might have been one of them. Well, there were other worthy candidates this past season for sure, but 10-7 with the rookie quarterback, I mean, that's pretty good shit, honestly. And that included a stretch where they won 7 games in a row. Like, it got to a point where people were talking about the Patriots going to the AFC Championship game or even the damn Super Bowl. Like, people were that caught up in the Patriots during the course of the season, especially during the course of that 7-game winning streak. Because it's just thinking that, this is Bill Belichick. This is what Bill Belichick does. And they're even beating marquee teams. So they weren't just beating all scrubs. They were beating the Chargers. They were beating the Titans. They were beating the Bills. And doing it in different ways. Like the Monday night game with the horrible weather conditions where Mac Jones threw, 2 or 3 passes in the entire game? So the expectations grew throughout the course of the season. But then as you got to the tail end of the season, they kind of backslid just a little bit. They lost 3 of their last 4, and their defense kind of scuffled. They gave up 27 points to the Colts, 33 points to the Bills, and, there were a couple of defensive touchdowns for the Dolphins in that game, but still, they were able to make the playoffs, but they should have been able to win the division based off of where they were positioned with 4 games left to go. And they failed to get the job done. And that defense started coming apart a little bit, and they certainly came apart in that wild card round game against the Bills. Holy Christ. I certainly wasn't expecting him to go in there and beat Buffalo, especially with Mac Jones starting. It just wasn't going to happen. But, as much as you can say Mac Jones didn't play all that well in that game, that defense was absolutely atrocious. The Bills beat the shit out of them. Brian Daboll and his play calling decimated Bill Belichick's play calling in that Patriots defense. It was really bad. All in all, though, if you're a Patriots fan, I think you'd have to feel pretty good in general about the way the 2021 season worked out. Mac Jones had solid moments. Certainly didn't look like a bust. I wouldn't say he was spectacular, but he made every start. Threw for 3,800 yards, over 67% completion percentage, 22 touchdowns to 13 interceptions. And when you're talking about rookie quarterback performances, that's a solid one, to say the very least. You wonder if he's actually going to be a Matt Ryan type or more of a Kirk Cousins type. We will find out as time goes along, but shit. For a quarterback that was a 5th quarterback taken 15th overall, Like, I know it's easy and fun for some folks on social media to rag on Mac Jones and crap on Mac Jones, but the reality is half of those people that are ragging and crapping on him wish their quarterback had shown anything like Mac Jones had shown. No, he's certainly not top 5 or top 10 in the league right now by any stretch of the imagination, but, he's easily had the best rookie season of all the rookie quarterbacks. Beyond question. Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Justin Fields, Davis Mills, all of them paled in comparison to Mac Jones. Now, that you could say is a part of being under Bill Belichick and having Josh McDaniels as his play caller. But you also got to say, hey, Mac Jones had a pretty good year, and they didn't have a 1,000-yard rusher. They didn't have a 1,000-yard receiver. So it wasn't like he was completely getting carried. Felt like at times the Patriots were trying to hide him a little bit. Yes, that is also true. But their defense, like I said, statistically in the regular season looked great. They were 4th in the league in total yards allowed, 2nd in total points allowed. But they weren't so good towards the end of the season, and they got destroyed in the wild card round against the Bills. So hard to know what to make of that performance late defensively. But you're going to have some questions certainly on the offensive side of the ball now with Josh McDaniels leaving to go become the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. And you're going into year 2 with Mac Jones, and he's now going to have to adjust to a new offensive coordinator. It doesn't necessarily mean the system is going to change, but, new play caller, new philosophy to some degree, certainly. Everybody always puts their own spin on something. So that'll be an adjustment and a change for him. But the Patriots, got to feel confident. They've got the guy at the quarterback position. They won double-digit games, made the playoffs last year. They don't have a ton of cap space. They got to figure out what they're going to do with some of these guys like Trenton Brown's a free agent, Dante Hightower, J.C. Jackson, Ted Karras, Matthew Slater. We'll see what they end up doing. But the biggest thing that the Patriots got to do in this offseason, they've got to get some skill talent around their young quarterback, Mac Jones. Like, I don't dispute for a second that even as good statistically as this Patriots defense was in 2021, they could get better getting after the quarterback. They could use another edge rusher for sure. Matthew Judon was great with his, 12.5 sacks, but what else did they have coming off of the edge? Not much. Especially if they lose J.C. Jackson. They've already traded away Stephon Gilmore. Like, they need help at corner. But you've got to build around Mac Jones first. Like, they need multiple starting level wide receivers. And this draft should position them to at least get 1, if not 2. Because they need them. Maybe you could use some offensive tackle depth as well. As you think about, like, Isaiah Wynn played most of the season. I think he only missed 1 or 2 games due to injury, but, he's had some injury problems the first couple of years of his career. Trenton Brown's a free agent. What happens if you lose him? Like, you might want to invest in that offensive line a little bit because it's going to be important to protect Mac Jones. He's not a total schlub in terms of athleticism, but he's not exactly a gazelle back there in the pocket. But they've got to invest in the skill players, skill talent, and put more pieces around Mac Jones. Because what you want to see is that 3,800-yard, 22 passing touchdown rookie season be the baseline, the starting point for what he could be in the NFL. You don't want that to be what he tops out at every year because you didn't put enough talent around him. The Patriots, as long as they have Bill Belichick, can always be in the mix. Now they've got a young quarterback that they could build around, they could grow, and they could develop. And who knows what this Patriots team could be in 2022, 2023, or beyond. But in order to get to their full potential, like as much as a Belichick might be tempted to focus on the defensive side of the ball, they got to focus on the offensive side of the ball. Trust in yourself, the arrogance of your coaching and your system to build up that defense. You've got to fix the offense. And no more drafting wide receivers that profile like N'Keal Harry. You need guys that are route runners. You need guys with speed. You need guys that can actually get open.